A warm welcome to all our viewers. I'm your host Pratiksha Mishra and you're watching another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's begin the show. At a time of rising tensions in West Asia and growing concerns over global energy and supply chain disruptions, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's five-nation outreach across the UAE and Europe showcased India's expanding global influence and strategic diplomacy. From the UAE to the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway and Italy, the tour focused on deepening cooperation in trade, technology, defence, energy and innovation while positioning India as a trusted and reliable global partner. Take a look.
Amid rising tensions in West Asia and growing energy security concerns, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's five-nation outreach underscored India's emergence as a trusted global partner and a voice of stability. Beginning in the UAE, Prime Minister Modi held wide-ranging talks with President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, with both nations signing key agreements on defence, energy and shipping.
Cooperation in advanced technology took a giant step forward today with the signing of a term sheet for the establishment of an 8 exaflop supercomputing facility in India. This will add to India's AI mission and the infrastructure involved with that. Both UAE and India share an interest in building supply chain resilience in a world that is seeing increasing disruption in supply chains.
During Prime Minister Narendra Modi's UAE visit, the chairman of Lulu Group International MA Yusuf Ali said NRI investments are now treated as domestic investments, easing overseas Indian investment in India.
We are investing in India, 1.4 billion people, and we are educated, our young generation are educated, intellectual, and we are getting feedback from different parts, and they are hardworking, especially our girls. They are working hard. Now we have got 18,000 people working in India, and we'll make it about 25,000 in this year.
UAE Minister Rahim Al Hashmini hailed Prime Minister Narendra Modi as a true treasure, saying India-UAE ties are scaling new heights in trade and technology while praising the Indian diaspora's vital contribution to the Emirates.
I am confident that we will unlock these new opportunities with one another, particularly since there's close to 4.5 million Indians who live amongst us and with us. And so we constantly learn from each other and we are better because of each other as well.
Prime Minister Modi's subsequent visit to Netherlands, Sweden, Norway and Italy further strengthened India's strategic and economic partnership with Europe. His visit to the Netherlands underlined the importance of supporting the development of a strategic green and digital sea corridor between the two countries as they deepen their engagements across all fronts.
ऐसी वैश्विक परिस्थितियों में आज दुनिया रेजिलिएंट सप्लाई चेन की बात कर रही है और तब भारत और नीदरलैंड मिलकर एक ट्रस्टेड, ट्रांसपेरेंट और फ्यूचर रेडी सप्लाई चेन बनाने में जुटे हैं। एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी से लेकर वाटर सिक्योरिटी तक नीदरलैंड्स और भारत मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं।
India and Sweden also elevated ties to a strategic partnership as Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Swedish PM Ulf Kristersson held talks on trade, technology and defence. PM Modi was also awarded Sweden's Royal Order of the Polar Star, reflecting Europe's growing strategic engagement with India.
Today, the 80,000 plus Indian diaspora here in Sweden makes a significant contribution to our economy and our society, not least bringing much needed skills in high-tech sectors across Sweden.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in Norway on the fourth leg of his five-nation tour, marking the first visit by an Indian PM in over 4 decades and highlighting growing cooperation in clean energy, climate action and sustainable development.
On the issues of energy, climate change, maritime issues, I also would like to say the Nordic countries are very keen to support the development of India. It's a very rapid growing economy here, but it's the most populous country, and there are great ambitions from the government's side that the Nordic countries are very keen to support.
The final leg of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Europe tour took him to Italy, where talks with Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and President Sergio Mattarella focused on defense, clean energy, connectivity and emerging technologies under the India-Italy Strategic Action Plan 2025 to 2029. As global challenges deepen, Prime Minister Modi's five-nation outreach reinforced India's emergence as a trusted strategic partner committed to stability, cooperation and future-ready partnerships across regions.
Moving on. Bangladesh is facing a major health emergency as a deadly measles outbreak spreads across nearly the entire country. Hundreds have reportedly died, with children under 5 among the worst affected. Hospitals in the capital Dhaka are overflowing with young patients as worried parents travel from remote villages seeking urgent treatment. Health authorities and UN agency warn the outbreak is escalating rapidly despite emergency vaccination efforts. A report. Bangladesh is struggling to contain a fast-spreading measles outbreak that has pushed hospitals and healthcare workers under immense pressure. Authorities say infections have now been recorded in nearly all districts of the country, with tens of thousands of suspected cases reported in just a few weeks. At a specialized measles treatment hospital in Dhaka, wards were packed with sick children suffering from high fever, breathing complications and severe dehydration. Doctors say most patients arriving at the facility are children under the age of 5. Families from remote villages and rural districts have travelled for hours and in some cases days, hoping to access better treatment in the capital as local clinics struggle to cope with the surge. According to the UNICEF situation report, children remain the hardest hit by the outbreak. More than 80% of reported cases involve children under 5, including infants too young to receive routine immunization. Bangladesh has now launched a nationwide emergency vaccination campaign as local media reports say the death toll linked to measles symptoms has climbed to nearly 500.
এটা যে হাম হয়েছে ডাক্তার নির্ণয় করতে পারে না, কিন্তু আমরা বুঝলাম যে এটা হামের লক্ষণ, যেহেতু বাচ্চার জ্বর, ঠান্ডা, কাশি এগুলো ছাড়ে নেয়, এরপর মুখে লালা যায়, এই জন্য আমরা খুব আতঙ্কিত হয়ে গেছি যে এখানে হামের লক্ষণই আছে। পরে আমরা সিদ্ধান্ত নিলাম যে আমরা এখানে রাখবো না, আমরা ঢাকা চলে যাব।
Anxious parents say delayed diagnosis and limited medical facilities in rural areas are forcing families to seek treatment far from home. As hospitals continue to fill up, frustration is also growing among parents who believed routine vaccination would fully protect their children from life-threatening infections.
সরকারের কাছে আমার প্রশ্ন হলো, টিকা দেয় বাচ্চার নিরাপত্তার জন্য, লাইফ রিস্কটা কমানোর জন্য। তাহলে টিকা দেওয়ার পরও যদি এই ঝুঁকিটা থাকে, বাচ্চাদের নিয়ে যদি হয়রানি হইতে হয়, তাহলে এই টিকা দেওয়ার মানেটা কি? আমি মনে করি এই টিকা দেওয়ার চেয়ে না দেওয়াটাই ভালো।
Health officials insist vaccines remain the most effective protection against measles, but experts warn that gaps in immunization coverage, delayed treatment, and poor healthcare access may have accelerated the spread of the outbreak. Emergency vaccination drives are now underway across Bangladesh as authorities race to contain infections and prevent more deaths. But with hospitals still overwhelmed and new cases continuing to emerge, many families fear the crisis is far from over. Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
Renowned Nepali Sherpa guide Kaminita Sherpa climbed Mount Everest for the 32nd time, breaking his own record set the previous year. The 56-year-old reached the 8,849-meter summit while leading climbers for 14 Peaks expedition, Nepal's Department of Tourism praised him for the historic milestone and acknowledged his significant contribution to the promotion of mountain tourism. South Korea and Japan agreed to strengthen collaboration on LNG and crude oil supplies, including joint stockpiling efforts and petroleum product swap deals. Following talks in Endong, President Lee Jae-myung and Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi said they would enhance coordination to secure stable energy supply chains and broaden cooperation with other Asian countries as conflict in the Gulf continues to pressure their heavily import-reliant economies. Calling China the biggest source of regional instability, Taiwan Premier Cho Jung-tai said Beijing's continued military activity is raising tensions after China announced that a carrier strike group had entered the West Pacific for training exercises. China, which claims Taiwan as its territory, has stepped up military and political pressure on the island and rejected repeated calls for talks from President Lai Ching-te, labeling him a separatist.
Pakistan's human rights record has once again come under sharp international scrutiny. At a gathering organized by the World Sindhi Congress in the United Kingdom, activists from Sindhi, Baloch and Pashtun movements accused Islamabad of systematic repression, enforced disappearances and demographic manipulation. Speakers alleged that Pakistan's military establishment continues to silence dissent through fear, displacement and political suppression, while minority voices remain largely ignored by the state-controlled narrative. A report.
What began as a community gathering in Bradford soon transformed into a strong indictment of Pakistan's human rights record. Organized by the World Sindhi Congress, the event brought together Sindhi, Baloch, Pashtun activists, intellectuals and political voices who accused Islamabad of decades-long repression against ethnic communities seeking rights, dignity and autonomy. Speakers alleged that enforced disappearances, arbitrary detentions and intimidation by Pakistan's security establishment have become routine tools to crush dissent in Sindh, Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. Activists also warned that the shrinking democratic space in Pakistan has left minority communities vulnerable to political marginalization, media censorship and state-backed demographic changes.
Do you know, it is estimated that on average in Sindh, 5,000 people they die. And these 5,000 people they die, which are easily preventable. Hidayat said is 80% of people they don't have drinkable water. Now they say no. It's 90%. The chief minister said 90% people जो को अड़ो पानी पींदो वो बीमार न थींदो ऐं पोइ मरंदा न हेपेटाइटिस न थींदो त कीअं थींदो सिंधु दरिया जे करे वो सुकी 92% डेल्टा तबाह थियो 90% पानी खत्म थियो. They want to really eradicate the basis on which Sindh stands. जीअं पाकिस्तान थियो not हजार न लख न millions of acres of land has been taken. कराची जी 50% ज़मीन फौजन वटा.
The gathering also highlighted growing anger over controversial canal projects on the Indus River. Sindhi activists alleged that Islamabad's water policies are accelerating environmental destruction in Sindh while threatening the livelihoods of local communities dependent on the Indus basin. Speakers accused Pakistan's military-backed corporate farming initiatives of seizing fertile land in Sindh under the guise of development projects. Protesters claimed these policies are aimed at altering the demographic and economic balance of the region while pushing indigenous Sindhi communities towards displacement and poverty. The discussion soon broadened into a wider condemnation of Pakistan's treatment of ethnic minorities. Baloch speakers pointed to the continued disappearances of students, journalists and political workers in Balochistan, where families have spent years demanding answers about missing relatives allegedly picked by up security agencies. Pashtun activists too accused the Pakistani state of militarization, unlawful detentions and collective punishment in former tribal regions bordering Afghanistan. Many claimed entire communities continue to suffer from conflict, displacement, and surveillance in the name of counter-terrorism operations. Human rights organizations have repeatedly raised concerns over Pakistan's record of enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings, and restrictions on free speech.
इस सरजमीन की बका और हुर्मत के लिए बेशुमार गुमनाम कारकुनों और सियासी कारकुनान ने अपनी कौमी तशक्कुस के लिए कुर्बानियां दी हैं और हमें फख्र है कि कुर्बानियों का सिलसिला आज भी जारी है। आज जब हम हीरोज ऑफ सिंध की बात करते हैं तो हमें ये याद रखना होगा कि हीरो सिर्फ वो नहीं होते जिनकी तस्वीरें दीवारों पर आवेज़ा हों। हीरो वो भी होते हैं जो अकुबत खानों में गुम हो जाते हैं, जो जलावतनी की जिंदगी गुजारते हैं। आप सब जलावतन हीरोज हैं जो अपने लोगों के हुकूक के लिए खामोशी से कुर्बान होते हैं।
The event concluded with calls for greater international attention towards the plight of Sindhi, Baloch, and Pashtun communities inside Pakistan. Protesters urged global human rights bodies to investigate allegations of enforced disappearances, resource exploitation, and suppression of political voices. For many at the gathering, the issue was no longer confined to regional politics. Instead, they described it as a larger struggle for identity, survival, and fundamental human rights under what they called Pakistan's deeply militarized state structure.
A single accident can change a person's life forever. For millions of differently abled people, this is a daily reality. But now, technology is changing lives. In India's Hyderabad city, a company is building affordable bionic arms that are helping people regain not just movement but also confidence, dignity, and independence. Take a look. Meet 24-year-old Vamsi from Hyderabad. A few years ago, a tragic accident changed his life forever, costing him one of his hands. But today, Vamsi is living life with renewed confidence and independence. With the help of a bionic arm, he can now handle everyday tasks with ease, from working in the office to managing daily life on his own. What makes his journey even more inspiring is that he now works with the very company that helped him rebuild his life and confidence.
నేను 2017లో ఎలక్ట్రిక్ వల్ల కోల్పోయాను. అన్ని కోల్పోయిన తర్వాత నేను కలాం బయానిక్ హ్యాండ్ చూజ్ చేసుకున్నాను. అండ్ 2.5 ఇయర్స్గా యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాను. హ్యాండ్తో డైలీ యాక్టివిటీస్ అన్నీ చేయగలుగుతున్నాను. డైలీ మార్నింగ్ ఆఫీస్ టైం టైపింగ్, రైటింగ్, హోమ్ వెజిటేబుల్ కటింగ్, బైక్ డ్రైవింగ్, ఎనీథింగ్.
The mission of restoring confidence and independence to people like Vamsi is being led by Makers Hive in Hyderabad's high-tech city, a place where technology is not just created but lives are transformed. Behind this initiative is Pranav Vempati, inspired by the vision of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam and MS Swaminathan. That inspiration led to the creation of Kalam, a bionic arm that is more than just a machine. It is a symbol of hope, independence, and a new beginning.
Dr. Swaminathan made me realize that countries like India, they depend on 4 pillars. One is agriculture, the second is health, the third is education, and the fourth is defense. If the youth of this country can take up one problem statement in any of these domains and focus all their efforts into building a solution, he said that's how the country can progress. So I took inspiration from this, and finally, after 6 years of research, we built Kalam, which is India's first and one of the world's most affordable fully functional bionic hands.
Kalam is an affordable, lightweight and 3D printed myoelectric bionic arm designed to be customized for each user's unique needs. With 18 different grip patterns, it makes everyday tasks from holding objects to writing far easier and more natural. What truly sets Kalam apart is its affordability. While similar bionic arms in abroad can cost between 35,000 to 47,000 US dollars, Kalam is available in India for less than 6,000 US dollars. That's why people from around the world are now looking to India not just for technology but for hope and accessibility.
And I'm looking for prosthesis arm like this one called arm in Europe. There is still okay, but the price is expensive and the quality I don't know. But here the quality is good and the price is good, and I do like everything with my hand, with the new hand.
At Maker's Hive, every bionic arm passes through multiple stages, from design and 3D printing to assembly and rigorous quality testing. At every step, the focus is simple: to create a prosthetic hand that is durable, reliable, and life-changing. This is not just a factory building machines, it's a place where people reclaim their independence, confidence, and the freedom they once thought they had lost.
तो हम इधर मैकेनिकल असेंबली होता है ये वर्क स्टेशन के पास, हर एक फिंगर मॉड्यूलर रहता है डिज़ाइन पूरा, एंड ये पूरा फुल्ली मेड इन इंडिया है, पूरा डिज़ाइन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग असेंबली सब इधर ही होता है।
ओके, और यहीं पर होता है?
यहीं पर होता है।
ठीक है।
और इधर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स असेंबली होता है। अभी बहुत कम कंपनीज है जो इंडिया में डिज़ाइन करके इधर मैन्युफैक्चर करते हैं। ये डिवाइस का जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स भी है इधर ही मैन्युफैक्चर होता है। तो इधर टेस्टिंग होता है जो असेंबली करते हैं वो डिवाइस का, और हर एक जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स है मैकेनिकल है वो सब जिग्स में, ऑटोमेटेड जिग्स में टेस्टिंग होता है। ये आप देख सकते हो एक डिवाइस है जिसका अभी फीचर्स चेक कर रहे हैं, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ ग्रिप्स, मतलब फिंगर मूवमेंट्स कैसा होता है उसका टेस्टिंग चल रहा है यहाँ पे।
From restoring movement to rebuilding confidence, Hyderabad's bionic arm innovation is proving that technology is not just changing machines, it is changing lives, giving thousands a new sense of hope and independence. When technology meets humanity, disability no longer becomes a limitation. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Till then, goodbye and take care.